Hey, it's Brett, and this is Brett and Some Books. Today we are continuing the plot to seize the White House by Jules Archer. This is chapter 22 of part 2. In the early summer of 1932, over 20,000 veterans and their families joined in a bonus army march to Washington, camping on the edge of the Capitol to demand the payment of a $2 billion cash bonus to all veterans. The House, under pressure, quickly passed the Patman bonus bill on June 17th out of the Republican, but the Republican Senate rejected it 62 to 18. Butler was indignant at the failure of Congress to honor America's pledge to its fighting men and was thoroughly disgusted with Hoover's failure to do anything about the plight of the nation except issue optimistic reports that prosperity was just around the corner. On June 30th, while the Democratic Convention was in session, he announced that he might, for the first time in his life, vote Democratic if the right man is nominated for president. It was no secret that he saw the right man as New York's Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had already broadcast an impressive speech on the need of the American government to discover its, quote, forgotten man, end quote. When Roosevelt won the nomination, pledging a New Deal along with the repeal of Prohibition, Butler wired him, "We salute your nomination as one of the greatest blessings granted any nation in an hour of desperate need." He offered to help FDR's campaign any way he could, and Roosevelt asked him to get in touch with Democratic campaign manager James A. Farley or Roosevelt's chief secretary, Louis Howe. Butler soon began stumping for FDR. In a speech before the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen in New York on July 7th, he warned that the government had to be rescued from the clutches of the greedy and dishonest. "Today, with all our wealth, a deathly gloom hangs over us. Today we appear to be divided. There has developed, through the past few years, a new Tory class, a group that believes that the nation, its resources and its manpower, was provided by the Almighty for its own special use and profit. On the other side is the great mass of the American people, who still believe in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution of the United States. This Tory group, through its wealth, its power, and its influence, has obtained a firm grip on our government to the detriment of our people and the well-being of our nation. We will prove to the world that we meant what we said a century and a half ago, that this government was instituted not only to secure our people the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but the right to eat, and to all our willing millions the right to work." A lecture bureau urged him to undertake a national speaking tour of 100,000 miles through the United States. He agreed, not only to earn the money involved, but also because he saw the trip as a way to get to know his fellow Americans better. He knew more about the Cacos of Haiti than the residents of Michigan Boulevard, more about the thinking of Nicaraguans and Chinese than that of Manhattanites and Californians. As a stranger to my native land and to my fellow citizens, he felt a strong compulsion to see America at last, and learn about them too. So he began visiting over 100 cities in 48 states, keeping my eyes and ears open all the time. Years of delivering training talks to his troops and pep talks before and during battle had made him an articulate, extemporaneous speaker. Without a note to refer to, he held audiences spellbound, and each time he delivered a talk it was different. A fast thinker on his feet, he spoke in the colorful idiom of everyday language, which he used with the impact of a shower of arrows. He was only partially successful in his attempts to civilianize his colorful barracks argot. One Milwaukee newspaper described a speech he made at a First Methodist Episcopal Church in September 1932, ran a story headlined, "Butler Talks in Church, Uses Nice Language." Only one hell and two dams spiced his remarks throughout the evening. What he heard and saw on his tour convinced him that Americans were hungry for a change in the administration, especially for a turn away from foreign affairs to home problems. But he found no indication that Main Street America either wanted a revolutionary change or thought it likely, despite alarm over a red menace in the conservative press. I held personal conversations with more than 2,000 persons in all walks of life, he said on October 2nd, 1932, after his tour, and they gave me a new and true insight into the people of America. I learned that the average American is convinced that no change in the form of government is necessary or advisable. The attempt by conservatives to smear anyone who utters a progressive thought as a red, he pointed out, was helping a handful of agitators in their vain efforts to foment disorder and discontent with our form of government. He branded Republican warnings that a Democratic victory would turn America socialist an absurd myth. When a new political group called the Roosevelt Republican Organization was formed in Philadelphia, Butler was asked to take a leading role in it. Louis Howe assured him that Roosevelt would be most grateful for any help he could give the governor in that capacity. A week before the election day, Butler made a slashing attack on Hoover in a speech to an enthusiastic rally of Queens, New York veterans, describing himself as a member of the Hoover for Ex-President League because Hoover used gas and bayonets on unarmed human beings. Nobody has any business occupying the White House who doesn't love his own people, he declared, adding, I was raised Republican, but I was born American. I have no ring through my nose, and I will vote for whom I please. He insisted that the bonus must be paid. The bonus is an amount of money that the American people owe the soldier, but not anybody demanding it is charged with lack of patriotism. During the war, nobody charged the officers of the Bethlehem Steel Corporation or any other corporations who received enormous bonuses with, quote, raiding the treasury, end quote. American business, big business, he accused, had been responsible for United States entry into World War I and was now getting ready to start another one in the East. On November 8th, Butler's choice for president won, and the House of Representatives went Democratic by a margin of 3-1. A chorus of newspaper fury and frustration reflected the dismay of banking and industrial interest over Roosevelt's election. Less than 3 weeks before the president-elect's inauguration, an unsuccessful attempt was made to assassinate him at Miami. Could the assassin's bullet possibly have been negotiated for, Butler speculated, by a big business cabal that hated Roosevelt and dreaded a New Deal?